I knew I was underwater.
Because he's like,
top, number one.
The Thunder have taken the NBA by storm. For the first time, the NBA champion resides in Oklahoma City.
The regular season MVP, the scoring title, and now here's your finals MVP.
Cheers to us being a family, and cheers to being the best in the world.
I'm glad we found a couple of champagne shower shots there. I liked when they were just cheersing the bottles. But can you believe it's only been a month since the Thunder raised the Larry O'Brien trophy? Since then, though, OKC, they've been busy. They extended Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub and Chet Holmgren. They helped bring the grand total of contracts signed by all players this offseason to over $3.2 billion. I don't know if I've ever seen $3.2 billion anything, but this summer, it hasn't been all about the big bucks. This is more my speed. The value spending. For more on that, here is our newly minted aficionado of the value, Mr. Brian Windhorst.
You know what I'm going to say, Malika. Value.
It's time for Wendy's Value Deal.
This is a key signing for value. Oh, this is a great value signing.
Value contracts, value contracts, value contracts, right? The king of value is here.
Yeah, ask my wife about that. Okay, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, it's not just one deal. I want to focus on their entire summer. So they took a first-round pick, Terrence Mann, made a series of deals and ended up with Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker on the other end of that, and Luke Kennard. And they got, I think, what was really important as part of the deal they made on draft night to move 10 spots back in the draft. They were able to get an unprotected first-round pick next year. So you look at those maneuvers, a great value summer from the Hawks. All right, number 4. Now I'm going to talk about a player right now who signed a 3-year, $119 million deal. And you would say value for Kyrie Irving? Yes, absolutely. And let me explain. Kyrie Irving took a $7 million pay cut. Now, I know he's recovering from an ACL injury. He's going to miss a big part of this season. But he didn't have to, guys. He had a $43 million player option. He could have picked that up and moved into free agency in 2026. The Mavericks getting him to take that pay cut enabled them to sign D'Angelo Russell, which gives him a replacement, kept them under the second apron. In return, he gets free agency in 2 years. Terrific deal there. All right, number 3. Again, think about the value. What if I told you the Los Angeles Lakers were able to sign a player for $8 million who has had double-doubles in more than half the games in his career? Well, that's what they were able to get with DeAndre Ayton. Was he worth the $35 million he was going to make this year in Portland the way he played the last couple of years? Debatable. Is he worth that and much more as the new starting center for the Lakers, highly motivated to restore his value before hitting free agency next year? You bet. This is a guy who's averaged a double-double, can rebound with anybody in the league, and will be a good rolling partner for Luka Doncic. Great value. Now, if I told you that you could get a guy who averaged 17 points, shot 50% from the field and 39% for three for $5 million, what would you say?
Take him.
You would say, absolutely, I will sign Bradley Beal. What an incredible value contract that the LA Clippers got for Bradley Beal, who comes in number 2 here. Now, is he still a $50 million player? The Suns would tell you no, and that's why they waived him. However, at $5 million, 1/10 the cost with that production, especially going to a team that is interested in rehabbing his image and he can be highly motivated to go back into a free agency situation next year, this is ideal for the Clippers. Grade A value. And number one, a combination maneuver that the Houston Rockets made. What a great offseason for the Houston Rockets. The trade for Kevin Durant. Look, you're getting a first ballot Hall of Famer, still very much in his scoring prime for what they gave up in that deal. I know that Jalen Green there's some people who really like him, but that is tremendous value for Kevin Durant. And I also want to talk about the contract for Fred VanVleet. He took over a $15 million pay cut from his player option to get into a 1+1. He can be a free agent again next year. Again, an agreement with the team. Give us a good contract this year. We'll let you go back to the market next year. Do you know what kind of value it is for Fred VanVleet at $25 million a year? Tremendous work by the Rockets on their entire roster, but especially those deals.
Does anyone else want like a value meal right now? Yeah. Saying that over and over. That's what I'm saying. Everyone likes to get a little bit more.
What happened to the Miami Heat and getting Norman Powell?
That's a good
Brian.
value.
I mean,
that's a good one, Ramona.
Can we extend
that? That's a good one.
Been...
It's not an exhaustive list. You're right.
Okay. All right. I mean, there should be room for
any others to add?
No, but I'm Team Atlanta. I think that Atlanta number 5 could certainly move up to maybe 1, and I say that because of that New Orleans or Milwaukee first-round pick that could be awfully juicy next offseason.
There are 2 teams, though, that made this list that we've been talking about a whole lot, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers, signing DeAndre Ayton and adding Marcus Smart now, and the Los Angeles Clippers, who have had a very busy last couple of weeks here today. You missed it yesterday. We were debating who had the better offseason, but it's a good thing we have a chance to ask you right now.
Look, are we going to do what we always do?
Yes.
And you know what that is.
You're going to go right on down that middle fast lane.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, sis, I'm not going down the middle fast lane. We know what the greatness will be when it comes to Los Angeles based off of the top tier stars. I always get so excited about the Clippers to start a season, and I always get my heart broken.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to jump back in.
Okay, we're going to jump back in. She's a heartbreak kid.
Look, I would love for both of these teams in the same city to be rivals and to both have great seasons, but I am really intrigued by what the Clippers have done. And I think Wendy was the perfect sell. If you get a 17-point-per-game scorer, you know, on 40% shooting from 3, you're going to be like, oh, my gosh. Now, the only cause for a pause that I have with the Clippers and Bradley Beal is this is one of the oldest, I'm going to assume, rosters in the NBA.
Yep,
CP,
that's correct.
40. You know, Brooke Lopez, 37.
Just say ARP cards.
Yeah, just distribute them at this point. But AJ, nothing but a number, okay, when it comes to Chris Paul and LeBron James and this recent generation of greats who have taken care of their body. Chris Paul played in all games, 82 games last year. So I'm not diminishing that. The only concern I have is we saw an NBA Finals where it was young legs, fresh legs, running, gunning. You have to be able to compete. And the reason why I'm giving a little bit of benefit is they ran into a buzzsaw that was the Denver Nuggets. That series could have gone either way, in my opinion. Based on some factors, they are better now than they were before.
Right.
So, yeah.
Look, I was there for that Game 7 when they just absolutely ran out of gas. And you give all the credit to the Denver Nuggets, but that was a very tight series. And what they've done now is added a lot of depth. But to me, the Lakers have the inside track here. If they signed Luka Doncic to that contract extension. Their summer's incomplete until we know if he extends with the Lakers when he's starting to be eligible August 2nd. Now, I don't expect it'll happen August 2nd, but I would be very surprised if he did not extend with them, at least for the shorter-term deal that he could do, because, like, they have all been behaving and talking in forever terms. They've all been talking like we are a partnership now. They took him out to dinner, as Brian and I wrote about a couple weeks ago, right after the season. Rob Pelinka's handed him binders of here's our future plans. He left with that binder and let all the paparazzi photograph him. The Lakers have plans to go visit him in Slovenia this offseason. They're going to go to Eurobasket. I mean, all the signs, like he has spent time with Jeannie Buss. They're in contact with the new ownership group that's coming in. This is not a player that's looking like I'm going to leave as a free agent next year.
Right.
And so if he signs, if he extends, even for the short extension, then I think it's absolutely the Lakers.
And he's making the calls multiple times to Marcus Smart, a role we haven't seen him necessarily occupy in the past, and saying, hey, come play with the Los Angeles.
He knows he needs some defense. You know what I'm saying? He needs some help on the perimeter.
Can I be Chennai and just hit it down the middle?
No. Take a stand. Come on now.
All right, I will say,
Come on, Bob.
I think for me, it's the Clippers, just based on John Collins, Brooke Lopez, Bradley Beal, Nick Batum, Chris Paul. However, there's a however to this. My only concern is that there's too many mouths to feed. And I've seen that happen in Brooklyn when I was there. When you have almost too many players.
In fact, did you see the press release that went out for Chris Paul? There was something in it that was a little bit different than other press releases.
They basically stated what his role was going to be. You know, they kind of closed the door that he would be starting, that basically he was going to be in a reserve role. And I think that was important for the Clippers to do. But as Ramona said, listen, if Luka resigns, which I think all intentions are, then certainly what the Lakers have been able to do has been a really good summer.
All right, Brian, you're the fight. Are you going to make this a tie break, or are you making it a tie, or are you piling on?
Well, I agree. I cannot understate or overstate, whatever I'm supposed to say here.
You cannot state.
How much of a disadvantage it was for the Lakers to lose the ability to give Luka the Supermax. He is completely disincentivized in extending his contract this year. Only reason he'd want to is because he believes in the Lakers, a team he did not ask to be traded to. It would be one thing if he said, trade me to LA. And so from the moment that the shock wore off that Luka was a Laker, I have been focused on whether he's going to sign. And the signs point to the signing. And so I am not going to dismiss that as an important moment. I never thought it was a guarantee, even though the Lakers really tried to make it seem like it was no big deal. I think it is a big deal. If it happens, I think the Lakers are one of the big winners of the entire NBA this summer. But I'll tell you what, if you look at what the Clippers spent, about $19 million, and they brought in 3 guys who are starter quality players, it's pretty good value.
Value to me.
I don't be emotional about stuff. Like, I ain't gonna cry. I ain't gonna cry. But like, I don't usually be feeling like that, bro. I feel so happy on the inside. Man.
And we're happy for you, Dame. It's okay to let out one tear. As he was officially reintroduced late last night, he addressed reporters at around 9 o'clock Eastern yesterday evening. Here's what he said about what it's like to be back in Portland.
I think if we're all being honest, we obviously never wanted to see him go. And even when he did, we all wanted to see him back.
It was something that I never wanted to happen to begin with. You know, even once it was like I knew I was being traded, like I don't know if I ever let it go. You know, it was hard to let go. I literally, after I tore my Achilles and I felt it, and I was sitting on the floor, I grabbed it and I rolled over and I sat up. And the first thought that I had to myself was like, I'm about to come back from an Achilles. We got to the back, and when the doctor said, you tore your Achilles, like I think everybody else had more pity for me than I did. Like I had the PTs, like, you know, about to cry and all of that stuff. Like I didn't cry. Like you said, it's a mental battle, but you know, if it's I don't lose those.
I told him that this year he's going to be the highest paid assistant coach in league history.
Like Chauncey said, I'm basically gonna be like an assistant coach. So I'll be around, and with this being a younger team, it's a lot of things that I can share, you know, without having to be on the floor.
A lot of ground covered there, but I gotta say, it's good to see Dame back. It's Fitz, Damian Lillard back in Portland, alongside Bobby Marks, Shanae Agumake, Ramona Shelburne, our Stanford sisters rocking the Cardinals red here. Our senior writer, Brian Windhorst, beaming in. Brian, when you look at Dame's return through the lens of what this means for the Portland Trailblazers in the short and long term, how are you viewing this team in a really crowded Western Conference?
Well, that had to be very therapeutic for Blazer fans, seeing those images and hearing from Dame sitting in front of the Blazers logo again, because the organization, quite frankly, hasn't been the same since he left. They've been in a rebuild. They didn't have high expectations, but they've been underwhelming even in their status of their rebuild. So I think it's a great moment for Blazers fans. This particular way they've structured this deal, where they're paying him the full mid-level this year and next year, I guess it's a value next year, but this year they've got $40 million in dead money when you include the buyout to DeAndre Ayton and what they're paying Dame to be an assistant coach by their own admission. But they traded for Drew Holiday, who's a $100 million investment to win more immediately, while they've also got this young team and a star player they're not going to have till next year. So they're kind of stuck in between both worlds. And I expect them to have good nights and bad nights this season, and I do not see them as a playoff team.
Shanae always says the worst place to be in the NBA is in the middle. I get all the warm and fuzzies, though, seeing Damian Lillard back in Portland. But from a team perspective, Shanae, they talked a lot about wanting to win. I was a little bit surprised that they leaned less into the nostalgia in this conference, which there were times, but also this is a team that still has ambition to win in the West.
Well, they still have another year of growth for the young stars before Dame really comes back. And if you think about it, you know, the word that comes to my mind is peace. You're going to see a peaceful transition of power. Dame is now the quote-unquote assistant coach, right?
Right.
But now he's going to be able to show the young guys what it takes to be great at this level, which I love. And it also gives peace to Dame, because pursuing a championship comes at a cost. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But at least he found that peace again. And so do the fans, because everyone loves to see him back, you know, at least from a PR perspective. But overall, what you're seeing is someone that is going to come in still at a high level a year from now and be able to lead and show people what it means to be great. So I do see this as a win-win, even though on the books it might be weird. And yes, this team is definitely in the middle. I do think this is one of those things where you look from the outside, you're all still advertising what you want your program, your franchise, your organization to be.
Yeah.
And this was a good move by them to show people we're building for the foreseeable future. Maybe not the next 2 years or 3 years, but we still are a destination worth looking towards.
Brian Windhorst, it is July 22nd. Okay? And I need some good news. I need the warm feeling. I need the story. Like, this is, listen, if we're talking, if we're in November, December, and this happens later in the time, okay, fine, we can talk about whether they're really going to win this year or not. But for right now, can we lean into nostalgia? Because I covered when he left there pretty deeply, and it was not a great exit. Like, they did not and he talked about this with Joe Cronin when he said, you know, it was really on us that we never really had those conversations. There was a lot of little things that added up to him feeling, and them not feeling great about him and him not feeling great about them. And you kind of got the sense that he never really wanted to leave. He even said it there. And most of the time when people say that, I don't believe him. I believe Dame Lillard. I believe he never wanted to leave Portland. And so on July 22nd, can we just feel good about things in the Pacific Northwest?
And the Trailblazers that were talking about their ambition, that were talking about winning, they are looking at their books. I'm going to turn to Bobby from accounting here to make sure that we got the books right. But they are set up here. Damian Lillard's contract is structured so that they can try to make another push.
Well, I mean, I look at it almost like pre-free agency.
Okay.
As far as here we are. And I think we're going to show Portland on the touchscreen right now with them. They were going to be able, they had that non-tax mid-level exception already, right? $14.1 million. Who are you going to use it on? You might as well use it on Damian Lillard, even if he's going to sit out for the whole year. So you get probably one of the best free agents available in 2026, but you get him now. Now, here's where your roster could certainly look like differently next year. We put him in there for Shaedon Sharpe. Now that adds to the dynamic of Lillard and Holiday. Here's some things to keep an eye on. When Damian Lillard signed that contract, the second year descends. Portland is in position next offseason to go out free agent shopping to go get a max salary player.
Wow.
That's keep an eye on there, right? The extensions of Shaedon Sharpe and Toumani Camara certainly play a role. But here's the other thing. We forget about this. Remember, Damian Lillard was traded to Milwaukee. Remember what came back. Portland has control of their 2028, 2029, and 2030 Milwaukee Bucks first-round picks. So they are certainly in a position to add in free agency and also go into free agency.
I love that breakdown, Bobby. It's basically, sorry, Wendy, it sounds win-win. You make the fans happy, you make Dame happy, you have flexibility by the books, and you can sign a free agent for the foreseeable future. So maybe the next 2-3 years may not look as bad or less competitive. Like, they're actually putting themselves in good position.
Well, I think they've signaled all year that they are trying to be better this year. They're not tanking again. This isn't playing for the draft again. They found Denny Avdia. They found Klingon. They found Shaedon Sharpe. I mean, I think they have some pieces now to build around. And now they have the hole that they got for Damian Lillard.
That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like, again, they are not just saying that we're going to bring back Dame. They want to have a couple of moves that Bobby just laid out that they're able to deal here, to be able to put a roster around Dame when he comes back to at least be interesting. I don't know if that means a play-in team. I don't know that that means a top 6 team, but at least be interesting here, Wendy. Last word on this.
So the one thing I will say is this kind of reminds me of something that the Indiana Pacers did about 15 years ago, sort of one generation ago.
Yeah.
David West was a respected veteran, former All-Star, was coming off of an ACL tear. People weren't sure what he was going to have left. The Pacers had some young guys, a young Paul George, a young Roy Hibbert, a young George Hill. David West came in and was the veteran who really lifted that whole organization, and they were in the conference finals very quickly. I think that's the kind of bounce that they're hoping to get from Dame Lillard. I'm just